we are back, episode 5, I believe this is. I am back with Matty Timmons. Matty, I feel like you and I have been friends for a year-ish, maybe 2 years now. I can't remember now, but I think the first time I met you was gigging with our mutual friend Nate at this like coffee shop, I think in Madison.
Yes, the same night that what was it, like Bruce Springsteen or somebody was playing like a block away. It was
Yes, like literally right
something
across
like
the
that.
street.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was
You're
driving
like,
to
how
the
could
gig.
we
I was like,
possibly compete with that?
I know. I was like, there's so many people like coming to the show. And I was like, oh, not for us. That's fine.
Yes, yeah. Just streams of people going to Camp
Yeah.
Randall Stadium.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we think they're all there for us playing with Nate's
Yeah.
project.
Yeah.
This is going to be the night of our lives.
But yeah, it was still a good show. It was fun. But Matty, thank you so much for being here. For those of you who don't know, Matty, Milwaukee musician with a project called Royal Mill, which we'll talk about later in the episode. But Matty, I just wanted to start by asking like about your musical journey. Like, how did it start for you? Like, what was your first instrument that you learned? What was a moment where you were like, oh my gosh, I want to sing or write songs? Yeah, what was that like for you in your music journey?
Like the first moment, I guess. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people my age, and I think we're similar ages. Like we grew up in like the Guitar Hero era of things, and I have this very distinct memory of like having my best friend over, and we were playing Guitar Hero, and for whatever reason, we were being completionists about the thing, and it was like, no, we don't move on to the next song until we get 100% on this current song we're working on. So we would just take turns going back and forth on the same song. It was like Smoke on the Water or something, like the very first song that Guitar Hero lets you play. And I think like after hours of just he and I going back and forth, like playing the song over and over again, my dad came down to the basement with his actual guitar and was like, you're not allowed to play this damn game until you learn to play the actual song on a real guitar. And he showed us like the opening riff. And I was like, this is like way more fun than the button mashing thing. I think that was probably in like the 4th or 5th grade or something like that. And just like, I don't know, I caught the bug, I guess. Like I just learned a bunch of crappy. Am I allowed to curse on this?
Sure.
Okay. I just learned like a bunch of like shitty glam classic rock riffs, you know? Freaking like Ozzy Osbourne and like, just all the stuff my dad liked, you know? And I spent like a year doing that essentially.
That's sweet. So you started like on guitar. Was it acoustic, electric, or kind of both?
My dad had like he had like a it was an electric. It was a Strat. And it was like, I guess he like really liked Stevie Ray Vaughan or something, so he got like the Sunburst Strat. And it's like he actually it's still in my basement somewhere in a case, but I can never bring myself to play it live. I don't know why. It's just something about like the 3-tone Sunburst Strat just gives such a dad rocky kind of vibe. Or either that or like you just really love John Mayer, you know?
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. So growing up, what were like, you know, you started with kind of some of those bands that your dad listened to, that your dad liked. What was like some of those bands that for you that was like, oh, this is like I'm a fan of this group. This is like, I'm deciding to be, you know, a fan of this musician or band.
Yeah. I got like weirdly super into Rush. Like, I don't know why, something about like, and I've recently revisited it. I've recently like on road trips, like I've been, because they have like 30 albums and they're all like an hour and a half long. So I've been like queuing up some of these songs and like some of it holds up better than others for sure. You know? But yeah, I don't know why I do this, but like I tend to just like hyper fixate on like one artist at a time. And I think that I was in a Rush era for like 5 years. Just like there was a website, I don't know if it still exists, but it was like the Rush Guitar Tab Project, And this is before I knew really anything about music theory. So I was just like, if you know, like the guitar tabs, it tells you like what fret and what string to
Yep.
do the whole song on. And I learned like 30 Rush songs.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably still play like some of them now.
That's amazing.
But I would just like jam along to the records. And I'm telling you, that was like years. And none of my friends liked Rush. And so it was just this solo thing. Me alone in my basement or bedroom, just like playing along to Rush. I don't know why. It was just the thing I did most.
That's amazing.
And then I would like we grew up in like a church, as a church family.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad played bass in the church band, and my stepmom sang, and my mom played the piano. It's like we were always like, I was always like around rehearsals.
Mm-hmm.
I would remember like bringing my crappy pedal board with like a Boss DS1.
Oh yeah.
And like just like trying to rip these Rush riffs over top of worship songs. And the worship leaders were always like, no, we don't do that here. So I had to learn how to love reverb, I guess.
That's amazing. There is some of these I don't even know what Instagram account it's called, but there's this one electric guitar player. He's like a worship electric guitar player, and he'll like just choose like these different like, you know, rock and roll riffs and just like fit them into like any worship song, like at different speeds, you know?
Yeah.
And like some people notice right away, and then other people are like, oh my gosh, that riff is awesome. It sounds so beautiful. And it's like, I don't know. It's like when you speed it up, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's like,
somebody's ripping a Joan Jett riff over top of like, Lord, I lift your name.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So getting into Rush, and then when did you start like writing songs, or like what was that process like for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, when I went to school, I went to like a small Christian school in Chicago. But while I was there, I went to like a pretty large church that like had like a very robust kind of like creative worship thing. And they like, as I was starting to attend this church and starting to like play on the worship team, they started like wanting to like write original music. I was like, I don't really know much about that, but like I can give it a shot. And that was a very big like learning season for me to be around. Like, I mean, I'm in like downtown Chicago. It's like a world-class kind of place. There's so much talent. And there were a lot of just like really good songwriters. And I got to just like go in. Basically, I went from like not ever writing songs to like being in co-writes with people that write songs professionally.
That's so cool.
And so like, yeah, over the course of like 3 years or so, like just like learned how, like, you know, like how you might want like to be thinking about the flow of a song or the arrangement of the song, like from the beginning of the process of like, I don't know, like, I'm sure we can talk about this. It was the subject of my band's like most recent release. But like, I don't really do like the worship or like church thing anymore. But there's like an impulse in worship music that like you want it to be like catchy enough that people will start sing, or they can like pick up, they can start singing about halfway through the song. Like they can start, they will be familiar enough with it halfway through that like they can like sing the second chorus. And you also want it to be like emotionally resonant enough that they'll want to. And like, I think that's been, even as I've like left Christianity and I've left those like praise and worship and like churchy circles, like that sort of like, I really like, I want to write songs that people like want to hum along to. And like, there's like a certain like emotional resonance to the lyrics if you pay attention to those.
Yeah.
Like that's never really left for me.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, it's so interesting. Like, I think that when I started writing, I felt the same of like, okay, like church music is this background that I have, and that's like kind of what I know. And, you know, you have these praise choruses that are, you know, pretty simple. And, you know, I think sometimes that's like a strong critique against church music. But I think there is something really powerful to that of if people can catch on. And like, even if you've been at a concert before when the artist just like steps away from the mic and everybody, you know, in the venue is singing their songs, it's just like this crazy moment that is hard to like put words to, but it is like kind of like a spiritual experience, I think.
Yeah, it's like it's almost mystical, right? Like
Yeah.
this like sort of, I mean, I don't know. I don't really get like real woo woo about it.
Hmm.
But like there is something like so resonant to like a shared experience around music, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but like I heard someone say that like music is like one of the few things that can like affect you without like asking permission. Like it gets inside
Mm.
of you and it like moves you in a way that like often is difficult to describe or find words for.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah. That's really good. Okay. So let's talk about Royal Mill. I want to get into this. You guys just released an EP. Do you want to just kind of tell like the story of like how Royal Mill became what it is?
Yeah. I mean it's still like an interesting question of like what
Mm-hmm.
Royal Mill is, because in some seasons like the people that I consider like in the band are like more or less busy or more or less
Mm-hmm.
occupied with other projects. So like the through line is like kind of like I suppose like I write songs and I bring them to people kind of in my orbit. In particular, there's my friend Brian and my friend Bailey, who were like we kind of agreed we like liked playing music with each other. So like let's like try putting
Yeah.
music together and try playing some shows. And that like had several false starts along the way. Like
Mm.
we put out a couple of songs in like 2021 or 2022 or something like that, and just like realized pretty immediately like yeah these just like aren't these just aren't very good, and like we
Mm.
and then in that like the wake of that pretty much Brian Bailey and I were like the like founding Royal Mill people, I suppose. Um, and then they both ended up getting invited into other projects.
Mm.
So then it became like, I guess I'm kind of doing this thing, but I actually don't even really like these songs very much. And so like around probably 2023, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like as regularly as I can pick up an acoustic guitar and write as honestly as I can about whatever comes to mind.
Mm.
Like there's in A Movable Feast, which is like a memoir-y kind of book from Ernest Hemingway, and he's talking about like his writing process at one point,
Mm.
and how like when he feels stuck and he doesn't know what he wants to say, he just tells himself to like say one true thing.
Mm.
It could be anything at all, but it just has to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And like that spark of like, yeah, if I'm honest with myself about something and I write that down, that can like get the ball rolling. And I kind of just like, I went from like trying to write these kind of like posery rock and roll songs about how, I don't know, they weren't really about anything. They were just like indie rock songs that didn't say much, to like these like existential crisis. Am I losing my faith, or is my faith losing me kind of songs. And then I started bringing those back to Brian and Bailey, and they were like, yeah, okay, like there's some breaks in the other stuff that they're working on, so let's kind of give this thing a go. And so I'd say like we launched the project more properly in like early 2024.
Okay.
So maybe about a year and a half ago, when things started to sort of like,
Yeah.
okay, let's like we feel more like we have an identity, and we feel more like there's like something to be said. And so it's like, it's weirdly like been 5 years, but also like been like 15 months.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's really cool. What is the inspiration behind like the name, or how did you come up with the name?
That's a good question. We tried so long. We have like a list, like a shared note in like our phones
Yeah.
somewhere buried of probably like 30 or 40 name ideas.
Hmm.
And like there were so many bad names. And I think
Yeah.
Royal Mill is like a fine name.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was really like an exercise of like, can we just name the damn thing so that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can we can start putting music out.
Hmm.
And so Royal Mill was the name of the street that I lived on when I lived in North Carolina in like
Nice.
2017.
Okay. That's
So
sweet.
it's really not that deep, except for maybe like, I don't know, it was a big part of like how I got to where I am, I
Yeah.
suppose. And it's like an inoffensive name.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. That's cool. Were there close contenders to Royal Mill, or were all of them just like you guys hated all of them and were like,
We hated all of them, but there were some alternatives for sure. We were almost called Watercolor Summer.
okay,
But that was so many syllables.
yeah,
And like when you hear that, it's definitely like that definitely needs to be like an indie pop band.
yeah,
And
for
we're
sure,
definitely more of like a indie rock band. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's move to, you guys just released an EP. I know you've been kind of on Instagram and different socials walking through, you know, from each song, kind of the inspiration. But do you kind of want to give people, more broad scope of like what, kind of about a lot of these songs? Like, what was the inspiration for the EP? And obviously, we'll link it too, but in the show notes. But yeah, like from your perspective, how was that experience for you?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's good. It was like therapeutic and also infuriating, and also like felt like spinning my wheels, and felt like a thousand things, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I said, like we kind of started. I mean, I just kind of started just trying to write as honestly as I could about
Hmm.
whatever was happening. Um, and I had been going through like a very long. The EP is called Slowly All at Once.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a collection of songs that were written over the course of probably about a year and a half.
Hmm.
I think the most recent song was written maybe 3 months before the EP actually came out, something like that. And it was just a very long process of getting the project to the finish line. The songs themselves are all kind of based in this like same season of like, we've alluded to it, but like, I used to be like very involved in church life. I was on staff at a church. I was a full-time church employee, as like a professional Christian, and I was pretty good at it.
Hmm.
And I just like, for one reason or another, just started to come to a place of like critically evaluating the thing for the first time.
Hmm.
And it was a really difficult process. I mean, number one, like my livelihood is tied up in this belief
Hmm.
system, which is not an easy thing to reckon with.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of my friendships had come about in the
Hmm.
context of church. I mean, even musical friends, like even like my musical collaborators were often like in my church band every weekend,
Yeah.
And I went through a very long and a very difficult process of coming to a place where like I actually don't think I believe this anymore, and that
Hmm.
has a lot of really difficult implications for a lot of different things. Like the of the kind of tragic story for a lot of people is like they'll be married and they'll have a family and they'll have raised kids to be in the church, and they'll be like very deeply involved in their church community, and it's like the center point of a lot of their life, and it's like the
Hmm.
thing around which a lot of their other thing, like the other stuff, rotates. And one partner will sometimes find themselves in a situation like myself, like, yeah, actually, I don't know if I believe this anymore. And I definitely don't think that I believe the same thing I believed about it. And like, it can like destroy families.
Mm.
Like some people hold so tightly to these convictions that like when the other person in the relationship lets go of it, like it can be absolutely debilitating, you know? So like I've got like that swirling in the back of my mind. I'm married. I have a lovely wife. We met both working at churches, and you know, I very much remember when I first told her, is like, I don't know what I'm doing with this stuff anymore. Like I had no idea what to expect or what reaction I was going to get from her. And then there's like all the friendships, like all these people that like you see every weekend and sometimes throughout the week. And like, if you don't have this common center anymore, um, it starts to feel like the relationship and the friendship needs to take on a different shape. And
Mm.
sometimes the friendships don't survive that, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um, so I realized I kind of looked up after writing like half a dozen songs, is like, damn, these all kind of tell a story in some way or another around this season of feeling like I've lost a lot. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've lost my job, I've lost
Mm-hmm.
my belief system, I've lost dozens of friendships, um, and like life just looks very differently. And then I had this interesting moment, like kind of charting through, like looking at the lyrics and like listening to the EP all the way through, and I was like, the fuck are we gonna name this thing?
Mm-hmm.
um, and there were a couple of different ideas, but the thing that kind of struck me was like when I was looking back on it, in the process of all these changes, it felt like it was incremental and slow,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like it was a slog, and like I was like grinding my wheels in place all the time. Uh, but then like there like the moment the thing breaks, all of that built up momentum immediately hits. And so it
Mm-hmm.
was like this very slow process for a long time, that was just felt all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's kind of the ethos of the EP, you know,
Yeah.
is like it's talking about religion, it's talking about relationships, it's talking about friendships. One of my favorite songs is about realizing like how cringy a lot of I always jokingly say it at shows, but like my weird uncle's horrible Facebook posts
Yes,
of
that
just
song
like
is so good. I love it so much.
so it's a bit about family and like changing
Yeah.
dynamics there too. And so yeah, it's called Slowly All at Once. And it's about the way that life and faith and relationships and love and friendships all can come in and out and change, both slowly and seemingly all at the same time.
Yeah. I love the title of it too, because yeah, when I was listening to it, you know, I played most of these songs with you at gigs and stuff, and heard different versions of them. But then, you know, hearing the title and then listening to the songs, I was like, oh my gosh, this totally makes sense. And I think that's something a ton of people, you know, can resonate with, whether that's in faith or relationships or just life in general. You know, how there's so much that happens when we go through big changes, but then I feel like when we look back, it's like, oh my gosh, this actually started like 4 years ago or whatever, in like a really small thing.
Yeah,
um
totally.
and I think a lot of people like resonate with your faith journey as well, and I would say people like in the church as well, or in any kind of religion. It's like, I think that is a journey in of itself, and so I think a lot of people will really resonate, with it. I think the song about, your uncle's post is called "Keep It Down," right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and then, another one I really like, is "Denim Jacket" for sure, is really good, and
Thank
then
you.
like to the faith point, "Faith Crisis" as well. I think is something that I think a lot of people really resonate with. And so, yeah, everyone go listen to this EP from Royal Mill. I'll link it in our notes here. I kind of wanted to end with talking about your songwriting.
Um, yeah, it's a good question. I think that I have really taken that sort of like just say something that's true to heart, and I'm not by nature a very disciplined person. Like I'm not like the kind to like have a songwriting discipline wherein like I sit down for an hour every morning and I no matter what comes out I make sure I finish a song. Like there are people
Mm-hmm.
in our lives that are like
Mm-hmm.
really good at that. But for whatever reason I just like, have never been able to find much success in that sort of system. I feel like I try as hard as I can to like fill the well by like fill the creative well, I suppose, by just like being as present as I can um in my life. You know, like I try to like observe and be curious and
Mm-hmm.
like learn about people and hear like what people are up to and try to be like in tune with like my own experience as well. Um
Mm-hmm.
and be thoughtful about all that. And then I find like when I do end up sitting down and grabbing a guitar or sitting at a piano or something, um, if I've done a good job of filling that well, there's usually something to draw from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of times, like, I really try hard to like write songs that sound like how I speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have an appreciation for like really poetic lyrics, but maybe it's because like I often don't feel like I'm understanding them as I'm
Yeah.
supposed to. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that's I don't feel like I can write that
Mm-hmm.
in that way anyway. Um, so yeah, I think like sometimes it's like how a lot of people journal, and they'll like write about their day. Sometimes that's just like how songs start for me.
Yeah.
Often it's like music and lyrics at the same time. I think that um yeah, if I find that the strongest songs seem to come in that way
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. Like if I start with like writing lyrics and like try to fit lyrics into music, sometimes like I can get too wordy and it like doesn't quite work. If I try to like start with a melody and then try to fit lyrics to the melody, um like I just like I'm, I ain't a thesaurus, man. It's like I don't know. I
Yeah.
can sometimes I just can't find the words, so
Yeah,
they
for
kind
sure.
of have to fall together for a song. There's like some exceptions to that sometimes. Like Faith Crisis, like a lot of those lyrics were just straight up lifted from actual conversations I've had with people,
Mm.
especially in the verses, and especially like, um, yeah. Well, anyway, all that to say, like, process, kinda, more just like a self therapizing with a guitar in my hands.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think it's so interesting, like the episodes we've done, people talking about their process. And I think what you said is pretty on brand with what people have said is like kind of a therapy session with yourself, sort of. And then combined with being present to your life or what's happening around the world. And I think the more we're present, I think that naturally it's like, oh, I actually want to write about that. Not even necessarily maybe to release it, but like I actually just like need to for myself or I feel like I need to say something about this. And I think that's really, the beauty of music there too. So
Definitely, definitely.
yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Matty. I'll
Dude,
link all
thank
your
you.
stuff. Yeah, absolutely, dude. This is so fun. Um, yeah, I'm so excited for people to hear this. So I'll link all Royal Mill stuff down. And do you want to just tell the people where like they can find you? Keep up with your music stuff.
Yeah. Probably best is two places. I'm pretty active on Instagram. The band account is at Royal Mill Music. I think Gabe will link it.
Mm-hmm.
And I planned poorly and have not established like a form to collect this information, but emails are always really great too. Like if you want to join, I have I probably send an email a month with like just like, hey, here's the rough show schedule and a nice little like cool little blurb about a song or
Yeah.
something. But in like the like algorithm moment we're in, like it's really frustrating to like put communication in the hands of a tech overlord.
Yeah, for sure.
So Instagram is good, but also like joining my mailing list is
Yeah,
better.
for sure. Yeah.
Which the best way to do that is probably from Instagram. There's a link in my bio that you can use, but that would also, maybe you can include that in the show
Yeah, for
notes
sure.
stuff too.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Matty, and we'll be back next month with more musicians talking about this journey of music and songwriting. So thanks so much, Matty.
Thanks, Gabe. It was a pleasure.